What's up, everybody? Carolina Jackpot coming at you. It's our picks and predictions, guys. This is week 12 of the college football season. Hard to believe it's already here, but I say that every week. In week 5, I was like, I can't believe it's already week 5. Week 7, I was like, I can't believe it's week 7 already. Well, it just seems like it's week 1 yesterday. Okay, but at any rate, yep, we're at week number 12. We got this one, and then one more real week in the regular season left. And then it's on the conference championship games and then ultimately the bowl games. Last week went 21-19-1 against the spread. The one push was actually, the team I hate the most, Clemson Tigers. I picked them to cover the spread against Boston College. They actually won 27-7, and that was a 20-point line. So that one was a push. No one won on that one. There are a few games last week that I should have known better on, one of those being Auburn. I took them over Georgia. The Dogs covered the spread in that game, and there are a few others here. I picked Kansas State covering the spread at home against Kansas. That was a really close game. Wake N.C. State, I took NC State to cover the spread there. I think a lot of people messed up on that one. And also Fresno and Boise State. Those were upsets, but those will happen to you. At least we did have a winning record there. So let's see if we can get a little bit better this week. We're going to fly through these again. Got 42 games to pick, so let's get cracking. I've already picked the first two. I had a little bit of a computer error here, and made two picks for something went wrong. Anyway, Buffalo at Ohio U. That's tonight. Ohio laying 2.5 at home against the Buffalo Bulls. Both these teams are really good. Buffalo 9-1, rolling right along, and I'm all about the Bulls, and I'm taking them there to cover the spread in this game. I think they're going to win that one. And then you have Miami U of Ohio on the road at NIU. Northern Illinois is a 6.5-point favorite at home. This will be a good game. Both these teams are good. Miami of Ohio actually has a losing record, but they played some tough competition, some close games against that tough competition. I'm going to take the Huskies, however, to cover the spread here and win at home. I think they'll win by about a touchdown. This will probably be a real close one, but going ahead and take them to cover the spread in that one. Toledo tomorrow night against Kent State, laying 13 on the highway against the Golden Flashes. Let's take Toledo all day. Whoops. Messed up there. Let's take Toledo all day to cover the spread in that one. Kent State's just a terrible team. I don't see any way they keep that within 13 points. Toledo can put some points on the board, and Kent State can't stop teams from putting points on the board. Tulane on the road at Houston. Houston's 10.5-point favorites at home in this matchup. I'm going to go on ahead here and take the road team, the Tulane Green Wave, to cover there. I don't know if they'll win, but Houston is a team that's kind of been reeling a little bit lately, not playing as well. Tulane, however, playing a little bit better. They didn't cover the spread for me last week against East Carolina. So this one could go either way. This is kind of going out on a limb a bit, but I'm going to take the Green Wave here. It's just a hunch I have. Houston lost. They dropped that game to Temple and just haven't looked that great. Boise on the road at New Mexico. They are laying 19.5 on the highway in Albuquerque. That's where they play. It took for a minute for me to get that one there. I am going to take Boise State in this one to cover that 19.5. New Mexico is just a really bad team. And Boise right now sitting at 8-2 on the year. They can go 9-2, finish up the season with a 10-2 record. Looking to move up a little bit. They're ranked number 25 this week, and look to move up a little bit and make some kind of position to jockey and get into a decent bowl game for them. This is kind of a disappointing season. I think that coming into the year, Boise thought they would be, the team that would be like the UCF. Go undefeated, all that. Everybody was saying they got to win against Oklahoma State. That's their only test, and they can run through the rest of the season. Well, didn't quite happen that way. They dropped that Oklahoma State game, and they dropped one to San Diego State. But other than that, they've looked really good. They've won quite a few games in a row. I don't expect that to change. this Friday night, going ahead and give me the Broncos to cover. Memphis on the road at SMU. Right now we have SMU is an 8.5-point underdog at home to Memphis. Right now the line's actually grown to 9. Both these teams kind of mediocre records. Memphis 6-4, SMU sitting at 5-5. I'm going to take SMU to cover the spread here. Once again, I think this is another team that's playing a little bit better, and Memphis is a team that maybe not playing quite as well as they were at one point in time. You know, had some close games against some teams that really aren't that great of recent weeks, and SMU looking decent. Memphis, put up a lot of points against East Carolina, gave up a lot of points against East Carolina. Really disappointing also on the road against Missouri. They just gave up like 70 points in that game, I think, and just got absolutely blown out in the game that I thought they actually had a chance in to make an upset, and it didn't happen. They had played a close game against UCF in the middle of October, and things have just kind of not went their way since then, even though they have won a couple. Mizzou on the road at Tennessee. Got a couple of teams here. Tennessee, I believe, is sitting at what is Tennessee's record? I want to say they are they 5-5 right now? Give me a second here to look that one up. I usually should have things laid out in front of me a little better. Yeah, they're 5-5. Missouri comes in at 6-4. Tennessee's looked a lot better last week. Looked really good. Gave Kentucky a shellacking at home. The game Kentucky was favored in. Missouri comes in as 6 points favorites. It's going to be a hostile environment. Tennessee, this is a case of they've got something to play for. Got Bolo Julie to play for at 5-5 right now. If they drop this game and they happen to drop the game against Vanderbilt, they won't make a bowl, despite all the improvements they've made. Missouri is sitting at 6-4 right now. Even with this win or loss, they would still make a bowl game. I go on ahead here and give me the Big Orange at home. GBO, I'm going to take them 2 weeks in a row. I think they'll win this game. Even though Mizzou does present a different set of challenges than what Kentucky did last week. Of course, a passing team, but that also has power run capability. And then Kentucky, a team that relies solely on the run. But Tennessee looking a lot better. I think they're going to cover the spread there, and they may not win that game, but they'll give it all they got, and it's a lot closer than that. UMass on the road at Georgia. Georgia's a 43.5-point favorite. I'm going to go with UMass here. That team can actually put up some points, and Georgia, once again, like a lot of these teams this week will be doing, because you got a lot of SEC teams playing lower tier opponents this week. They're going to play some second and third string guys, give them a lot of looks, and give some rest these other guys for the rivalry week games and for impending possible conference championship games. I don't see Georgia keeping the starters in there for a heck of a long time. Justin Fields probably gets some action in this one, so who knows? Justin may go off in this one. I don't know, but I'm going to go ahead and pick UMass just to cover the spread there. I still think Georgia will win it very easily. The game will be over and well in hand by halftime, but go with UMass. 43.5 points is a lot. Chattanooga, the Mocs on the road at the Boomcocks. They're 31-point favorites at home against Chattanooga. Actually, both teams here come in, and I believe that we both have identical records, or possibly not. No, the Mocs are 6-4. Carolina's 5-4. Of course, we had that one game that didn't happen. I don't know why they come up the lines on these games anyway. Carolina's going to win this game. They're going to win it going away. Chattanooga's defense is not going to be able to slow us down. And this will be my mantra going into the Clemson game. And you'll hear me talk a lot more about that one after this weekend's over with. But man, I'm just really down in the dumps. I'm really sick to death at a lot of the Carolina fans, the Carolina so-called faithful, who are just conceding the game to the Taters, that we're not going to win, blah, blah, blah. They act like, I actually saw one on there who, I mean, I know he was joking that said we should just take a 2-0 loss, forfeit, and we'll cover the spread. And I mean, that's just crap. That is absolute crap. Yeah, the team laid down. They didn't play well fourth quarter last week. But, I mean, the game still is going to be played. And my thinking is that our best defense against Clemson is going to be our offense. We got to score. We've got to find a way to move the ball against them. We are not going to stop the run. We're not going to. We're not going to stop Travis Etienne from rushing over 100 yards. It's just not going to happen. Okay, we're probably not going to stop the other guys from rushing 50 or 60, but we can score some points, and that's where I think we're going to get a little bit of practice in this coming weekend. This is going to kind of be like free throw practice against Chattanooga. Give me the Gamecocks to cover the spread there. Ole Miss on the road at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt's a 2.5-point favorite. It's actually moved to 3 now. Going ahead in this one, give me Vanderbilt to cover the spread here. I think they're going to win this game. They've had some close calls. The game against Missouri, I feel like they should have won. I feel like they should have won against Florida. Had they just had like one more player, just one more guy to make a difference, they could have won that game. This is a game that's going to make a difference for them right now. They're at 4 wins right now. They got to win this game, and they have to win the Tennessee game to be bowl eligible. And I think they are going to win this one. I don't know if they're going to beat Tennessee. I think Tennessee is better than Ole Miss, but give me Vanderbilt in this one at home to take the win. Ohio State at Maryland. Maryland's 14.5-point underdogs. Ohio State looked good last week against Michigan State. They looked good defensively anyway. And on special teams, a lot of people were down on Ohio State. They're dogging them out. They're still ranked number 10, I believe, in the college football playoff rankings. Going ahead in this one, give me Ohio State here, cover the spread. Maryland is they don't have a lot left to play for right now. There'll be ushering a new coach in there next year. Don't know who that's going to be. I had heard Butch Jones was interested in the job. Pray to God the University of Maryland is a little bit smarter than that. They don't hire that guy. But that's the talk that I've heard. So, at any rate, Ohio State, give me the Buckeyes at 9-1 to cover the spread here against the 5-5 Terps in College Park. Michigan State on the road at Nebraska. Nebraska is a 2-point underdog at home to Michigan State at 3-7. Cornhuskers have looked a heck of a lot better the last few weeks than they did at the beginning of the season. Michigan State 6-4, up and down. Lost at home in kind of bad fashion to Michigan a few weeks ago. Beat Penn State on the road. They've lost to Northwestern. But I don't know what to make of them. I really don't. They are have a close win against Utah State. Lost to Arizona State. Don't know what to make of them. Sometimes they're inconsistent. Nebraska, Scott Frost sitting at 3-7 right now. He's not making a bowl game, but they're building for the future. A lot of people think this Nebraska program is going to turn the corner in the next few years. Scott Frost needs that signature win at Nebraska right now. Right now, he doesn't have a signature win. Guess what? I think he's going to get it on Saturday. Give me the Cornhuskers here to cover the spread against Michigan State and win that game. Northwestern on the road at Minnesota. As of this one, Northwestern was laying 2.5 on the highway against the Golden Gophers. Right now, I believe the spread has actually shifted, and Minnesota is a 1-point favorite. They have only lost one game at home. They're 5-1 at their home stadium this year. I don't even remember what it's called right now. They used to call it Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome, but that's not where they play at anymore. It's almost like they're wanting you to take Minnesota in this one. It's just one of those things. I ain't taking that. Not going to go ahead and take the bait on that one. Give me Northwestern again I'm still a believer in the purple. Penn State on the road at Rutgers. I've taken Rutgers to cover spreads in games several times this year, in which they've been huge underdogs. This one right here, no exception. Going ahead and give me the Scarlet Knights. Penn State, nothing special. Got blown out a few weeks ago against Michigan. Did somewhat redeem themselves last week with a 22-10 victory in Happy Valley against Wisconsin, another team that has really not proven out to be what they were thought to be at the beginning of the season. 28, still a lot of points. It's a home game for them. I think Rutgers covers the spread there and plays halfway decent for a while in that game. Penn State will ultimately take the dub. The Citadel on the road at Alabama. This is one that a lot of people are talking about. Tua Tagovailoa, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he hurt? What's Nick Saban hiding from us? We don't know. Let me just cut through the chase here. I'm going to go ahead and take Alabama to cover the spread in this game. If this was the Citadel team that they've had the past couple of years, they were 9-1, and I think like 8-2 coming at this point in the season. Right now they're like 4-5. They're not good. Alabama, they may put the second or third string quarterback in there, or not the second. He's not going to be playing either. But, they're just so much more talented, and just the level of talent between these two teams, the gap is so enormous that, you could drive a fleet of 10 Mack trucks in between it and still not touch the sides. It's just not. Alabama, they could sleepwalk through this game and win it by 60 points. Go ahead and give me the Crimson Tide here. It's one of those games where you could try not to score, and you'll probably score anyway because they're not stopping you. Pitt on the road at Wake Forest. The Panthers are laying 6 on the highway against the Demon Deacons. This seems like a little bit of a short line to me, and maybe a bit of an overreaction to Wake Forest win last Thursday night against NC State. Made no bones about it. NC State is not a good team. They should never have been ranked that high. That was just a farce and should not have happened. They bolted out like a 5-0 record. Hadn't played anybody. They played Clemson. They absolutely got curb stomped. And, everybody had said at the beginning of the season, well, they lost all those defensive linemen. There's no way they're going to be good. Blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. Well, then they start out 5-0. Well, guess what? They hadn't played anybody. They beat an A.J. Dillonless Boston College team at home by a few points. Their best win was against Virginia, who, we thought was really, really good, but they seem to be mediocre right now in the way they're playing. So that's an overreaction to that. Pitt is a good team. They're playing really well right now. Got a solid win against Virginia Tech at home last week. Going ahead here, give me the Panthers to cover the spread in this one. This will be, in my opinion, the team that takes on Clemson in Charlotte on December 1st. Middle Tennessee State at Kentucky. Kentucky 16-point favorites at home against the Blue Raiders. Blue Raiders are a good team. They're 7-3 coming in here. Their losses, they were against, they did lose one in Conference USA. Two, I'll pull that up in a second and tell you who that was that they lost to. But their other two losses were to Vanderbilt and Georgia. Nothing to really laugh at. A team coming from Conference USA. They lost to FIU, 24-21. FIU, a team who is near the top of Conference USA this year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. They're also 7-3, so maybe they're not. But at any rate, Brent Stockstill is one of his last games there. And his dad, Rick, head coach. They'll bring some offense in there. We all already know about Kentucky on offense. It's non-existent. I don't think that they're going to be able to cover the spread here. I think they'll win this game. I think it's going to be by about 10 points or so. I just think they're kind of beat down, and the last few weeks things have just not went their way, and they're going to limp to the finish line here. But I do think they'll get the win. Take Middle Tennessee though to cover the spread in that game. TCU on the road at Baylor. TCU is 2-point underdogs in Waco. For the life up, this is another short line that I don't really get. I'm taking Baylor here. TCU's looked absolutely terrible this year. After that Ohio State game, they upset, well, now you consider an upset, Iowa State at home. Since then, not really that good. Going ahead and give me the Baylor Bears to cover that 2-point spread. Colgate is on the road at Army. Let me chase something off real quick, guys. I will be right back. All right, sorry about that, guys. A little boxer puppy that I got last week. She got out of the bathroom where she spends most of the time at right now until she's potty trained, and had to get her back in there. When I become a master video maker one of these days, I learn how to edit that stuff out. Colgate on the road at Army. Army is 11-point favorite at home. Make this one short and sweet. Army will win this game and win it pretty significantly. Colgate, however, is 9-1. A pretty good team. They are out of, I'm not exactly sure what conference that is up there. It might be the Northeastern Conference. They're FCS. They're actually 9-0. Excuse me. They are 9-0. They had a game canceled against Furman, a team from my neck of the woods. So, that escapes me. What conference is Colgate in? The Patriot League. Yeah. Give me Army here to cover the spread there. I think the talent gap there, once again, a little bit too much. And Army wins that. Arkansas on the road at Mississippi State, 20.5-point underdogs. Arkansas have been playing a little bit better the recent weeks. 7-point loss last week against LSU. Mississippi State, a good team at home, so I understand the large line here, but Arkansas has, they're another team that's building for the future, and, they've got to put up some good showings. I believe they're going to do it this weekend against Mississippi State. Going ahead and give me Chad Morris and crew here to cover the spread there. Looks like a game that they'll probably lose by about 14 to 17 points. NC State at Louisville. Louisville is 16.5-point underdogs to NC State at home. We already talked about NC State, how I feel about them. They are off 9 days rest after the loss against Wake Forest at home. This is kind of a tough one because Louisville fired their coach. Bobby Petrino's gone. So, you got a little bit of, I think there's a little bit of new blood there with a little bit of maybe lighting some type of fire. However, the interim coach is Lorenzo Ward. And if anybody knows me, I'm a huge Gamecock fan. He was our defensive coordinator for several years, and last year he was DC at South Carolina. 2014, our defense was absolutely pathetic. That was the worst defense I've ever seen in my life. So I don't know how in the world that man could coach up a football team, but I don't know. They had enough confidence in him to let him try to run it. Man, knowing that they've got a new blood coming in, the old out, I want to take Louisville in this one to cover the spread and think that they may try to keep this somewhat competitive, but I just can't do it. I don't think they're going to do it. They are so bad on defense. They're so bad on defense, and they put one of the worst defensive minds that I've ever seen in my life in charge of the team. NC State covers. I'm sorry. FIU on the road at Charlotte. FIU is 5.5-point favorites on the highway. They've had a good season. Go on ahead and give me FIU here to cover the spread in that game. Here's a big one. Syracuse versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame is 10-point favorites in Yankee Stadium against Syracuse. It's actually a home game for Notre Dame. It's the Shamrock Series. They're 10-0, looking to make it 11-0 against Syracuse. I think they get it done. Syracuse can put up some points. This is a big game for Notre Dame, though. They've got to play well here. They know that. And one of the things about Notre Dame, I feel like they're disciplined. I feel like it's always a disciplined team that always seems like they show up when they need to show up. They may not play well against teams that, they should roll over, such as Ball State earlier in the year or Vanderbilt. But, when it comes time to perform in a big game, such as on the road at Virginia Tech earlier in the season, still Virginia Tech, not a good team this year, but still it's a primetime spot on Saturday nights. It was on ABC. Virginia Tech, still tough at home, despite the fact they're not that great. And Notre Dame just absolutely blew them out. They've not lost one of these Shamrock Series games, which I've been playing since 2009. Didn't play it last year for whatever reason. This is so tough. It's so tough because Syracuse does have a good team. The fruit is legitimate. I mean, they almost beat Clemson. I mean, they should have beaten Clemson. If you want to get down to the nitty-gritty of it, you'll have Tater fan all day long saying, "Hey, well, Trevor Lawrence got knocked out of that game." Well, you know what? They were losing before Trevor Lawrence got knocked out. Before Tinkerbell went down with injury, they were still behind in that game. Go on ahead and give me Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame covers here. I still think it's going to be fairly close. I think they'll win by about 13 or so, but give me the Irish. USC on the road at UCLA. USC laying 3.5 on the highway, if you can call it that, on the expressway in the Rose Bowl against UCLA. USC, a disappointing team this year under Todd Helton. UCLA, under Chip Kelly, up and coming. They've had a few disappointing weeks of late, but they're came around towards the middle of the season and grabbed a couple of victories. They blew out California and got another win there. And USC, a team that I think is down and out a little bit. I think Clay Helton, I don't know why I keep calling him Todd Helton. Todd Helton played for the Colorado Rockies. Clay Helton is probably going to be out after this year. They have failed to live up to expectations at 5-5. I'm taking the upset here. Give me UCLA to cover in this one. I think they take the upset win there. And this is rivalry week, too. So I don't really understand why this game is being played. Notre Dame next week for USC. Got it. All right. Virginia. Cavaliers on the road at Georgia Tech. Yellow Jackets laying 6.5 at home. I'm going to take Virginia to cover in this one. 7-3 right now. Playing pretty well. Georgia Tech 6-4. Up and down season so far, but been definitely putting some points on the board, and they have knocked off a few of the teams that people didn't think they were going to. Pitt still, I think, has the inside track to that Coastal Division race, which is kind of starting to work its way out right now. But Virginia is one of the teams that could, if they went out, which they very well could, possibly sneak in there with a 9-3 record at Georgia Tech, 6.5 points. Georgia Tech didn't look great last week against Miami, although they did win the game. I'm going to take Virginia here in this one. I think Virginia is better than Miami. I'm going to take them to cover the spread in this game. It's Georgia Tech. I don't know if they win it, but I expect them to give them a game to try. West Virginia on the road to Oklahoma State. It's another huge game this season. Oklahoma State right now, the Cowboys sitting at just 5-5. So, and West Virginia on 1 point, one loss this year. They're sitting there at 9-1. You got a matchup with Oklahoma looming on the horizon. And this would be a one where easily you should say, well, just take West Virginia. It's, a no-brainer. Not so fast. Oklahoma State plays well at home. They almost knocked off Oklahoma themselves a few weeks ago. The big win at home earlier this season against Texas. Yeah, however, just another team that's kind of inconsistent. Oklahoma State, West Virginia just seems to me a little bit more focused. I'm going to go on ahead here in this one. Give me Mountain Greer. Once again, I've been picking them all year long. Going ahead and take West Virginia in that one. Boston College at Florida State. Boston College is laying 1.5 on the highway. In Tallahassee, it seems another game where it just looks like they're just begging you to take Boston. I don't understand that line. To me, this is at least a touchdown favorite in Boston College. Why Florida State is only a 1.5 point underdog, I do not understand. But I'm going to go on ahead and go with Boston College here. I think that they absolutely whip up on Florida State. Another team not very good at all this year. I get it. Their run defense has been a little bit better, but that's I don't know. And Boston College may be playing with a backup quarterback. I'm not exactly sure what that young man's situation was after the Clemson game. He got rolled over by Christian Wilkins. Ended up in hospital, if I'm not mistaken, that being A.J. Brown, Anthony Brown. Getting rolled over by Christian ain't no joke. Hopefully he kept his hands to himself. I'm just kidding. I think he did. But anyway, I'd take Boston College in this one, even with their second-string quarterback. I think they're way better than this Florida State team. Wisconsin on the road at Purdue. Purdue is 4.5 point favorites at home. Wisconsin, another team, huge disappointment this year. Huge disappointment. We're once ranked as high as number 5. They're nowhere near being ranked right now. I took a 22-10 point loss, or 22-10 loss last week to Penn State. They're actually 6-4. The Boilermakers are actually still 5-5. And the Boilermakers with a bad loss last week at Minnesota. That was a road game. Minnesota, another team that plays really well at home. They got a road win, or a home win, 2 weeks ago against Iowa, 38-36, which was a pretty good win. If you want to look at it, you can say Purdue's been kind of inconsistent this year too, but I think they get the job done in this one. Give me the Boilermakers covering the spread against the Wisconsin Badgers at home. Let's see here. We got Miami on the road at Virginia Tech, 4.5 point favorites. Virginia Tech, not a very good team this year. Dropped some games, especially against they dropped a game to Georgia Tech at home a few weeks ago. Really bad loss to Pitt a couple weeks ago. Miami has just, I don't know what to make of them right now. They're sitting at 5-5. Looking for that 6th win at Virginia Tech. Not the easiest place to get it. I'm going to take the Hokies to cover the spread here. I just don't think Miami's very good. I don't think Virginia Tech's very good either, but we gotta pick a winner here somewhere. I'm going to take Virginia Tech to cover the spread on that particular game. Iowa on the road at Illinois. They are laying 16 on the highway in Champaign. I've taken Illinois to cover the spread quite a few times this year, and I have gotten burned quite a few times by the Illini. The Illini, you will burn me no more. I'm taking Iowa to cover the spread here all day long. Illinois they just get worse and worse by the week. Don't really know what's going on with that experiment there in Lovie Smith, but I expect some decisions to be made there. Illinois was once a really, really, really good team. A pretty good program. They were never like top 10, but they were always within the top 20. It seemed like there in the earlier part of the century, and they've just kind of fallen off in recent years. I'm going to take Iowa to cover in this one. Indiana on the road at Michigan, 28-point underdogs. I'm going ahead and make this one easy too. Give me Indiana. They play teams close. They'll play some close games. They're sitting at 5-5. Not a really good team, but they're just good enough to cover some spreads. And just wreak a little bit of havoc. So going ahead, give me the Hoosiers there. And I think they will lose this game by a pretty significant margin, but that's what I'm looking for on that one. UAB on the road at Texas A&M. This is interesting. Interesting matchup because I don't think when Texas A&M scheduled this game that they expected UAB to come into it 9-1. Now, they scheduled this one right when UAB first reinstated their football program. Probably thought they were going to roll to an easy victory. They're 16-point favorites at home against the Blazers, a team that has a really good defense. Looking at their scores of some of their games, shut out UTEP 19-0, 52-3 over UT San Antonio, 42-0 over Rice. I realize those aren't really good teams, but you got to look at Louisiana Tech, 28-7 win. Louisiana Tech put up some points. They only give up 24 to Tulane, a team that puts up a lot of points. Losses their loss was to Coastal Carolina on the road on week 2. That was their only loss of the season. Some of this is just such weak competition, though. They won over North Texas, which seemed to be a pretty good team. 9-1. I don't know, though. That seems pretty weak. Give me Texas A&M here to cover. I think they'll cut. It's at home. Of course, I don't see Texas A&M playing a road game against UAB, but I'll take the Aggies to cover in this one. They're kind of coming off of a few tough weeks themselves. They're 6-4 right now, but games at Auburn and at Mississippi State, I felt like they should have won, but they didn't. Not that they should have won them within the game. They actually, absolutely got kind of dominated against Mississippi State. More so I'm talking about going into them. I thought that they would win, and they did not. But they will get the win here against UAB, and I think they'll cover the spread. Despite the 9-1 record, UAB, it's kind of inflated. Some of those teams they played are just jokes. Duke on the road at Clemson. Clemson laying 28 at home against Duke. I just got to go on ahead, I guess, and take the Tigers here. Eventually, they're not going to cover one of these spreads, which at the beginning of the year they weren't covering, so that's why I stopped taking them for a while. But, they've been playing lights out the past few weeks. Last week, I didn't think they looked particularly great against BC. Kept getting stopped by Boston College, which has a staunch defense, but just could not put any points on the board whatsoever. And that wasn't – it was somewhat Clemson's defensive game there, but a lot of it was just them stopping themselves. Their offense just shot themselves in the foot repeatedly. Trevor Lawrence, Sunshine, Tinkerbell, whatever you want to call him, he looked okay at times, but to me, I felt like he had a little bit of a slow release in that game. He didn't play as well as I've seen him play, probably, against a team such as Florida State, NC State, Wake Forest. It wasn't that impressive in this one. Tater fan going to sit here and tell you all day long how cold it was. It wasn't. It wasn't cold. He just didn't play that well. He looked kind of like a freshman that night. But I think they'll rebound here. Duke is a good team, but they're banged up. Daniel Jones has been banged up this year. Some of the team players on the defense have been banged up. And I think Clemson will cover the spread here and win this one. This will be like a 38-10 victory, something like that. That wouldn't cover the spread, would it? Maybe, let's say, 41-10, 42-10, somewhere in that neighborhood. I don't think Duke's going to put a lot of points up on the board against them. Stanford on the road at California. California 2-point underdogs at home against Stanford. I'm going ahead and take the Cardinal to win the game here. So give me Stanford to cover by a little bit more than 2 in that one. Kansas at Oklahoma, 36-point underdogs. Kansas actually played pretty decent last week against Kansas State. That one was kind of nip and tuck, back and forth. Eventually ended up losing 21-17. on the road. Now they go on the road against Oklahoma, and this is one from last year, where Baker Mayfield showed his ass and kind of got in trouble in this game. 36 points, that's not a lot. What you're talking, 5 touchdowns. I think Oklahoma could win this one by 9 touchdowns if they want to. Go on ahead. Give me the Sooners to cover in that one. Now a few more interesting games here at the end. Get into Cincinnati on the road at UCF. UCF is laying 7.5 at home. I think he's actually moved down to 7. I think this is one that we finally could see it happen. Could finally see UCF's, 20-game winning streak come to an end. Game day is going to be here for this one, so they're going to be hyped up from that. So at that point, it's a little bit hard to take Cincinnati with all that outside interference. But maybe that outside interference is not going to be a good thing. I think UCF has looked good this year, but I don't think they've looked quite as good as people thought they would be. This game is going to be on ABC. Is all this going to be a little bit too much for the Knights? Possibly, maybe. I am going to go ahead, take Cincinnati in this game, cover the spread. That upset may very well happen. They have looked really, really good this year. I think definitely, to me, record-wise, the surprise team in the country. No one thought Cincinnati in Week 11 would be sitting at 9-1 with just that loss at Temple. Temple's another team. They've spoiled some seasons, haven't they? They really have. And they're another team that looked good against Central Florida and was giving them a run for their money there for a while. Oklahoma State on the road at Texas. Texas 3-point favorite at home. Iowa State, another team that's just good enough to ruin people's seasons. Not here. Give me the hook 'em horns at home to cover that 3. Arizona on the road at Wazoo. Wazoo's 9.5-point favorites. I don't think this is enough points. Arizona's not looked very good this year. Washington State, another team, they're on the outside looking in. But if they went out in impressive fashion and, you have an upset there with one of those teams in the playoff, they could possibly sneak into that college football playoff talk. Arizona State on the road at Oregon. Both these teams been kind of up and down this year. Oregon been up just a little bit more, so in my opinion, at any rate, than what Arizona State has. I think Oregon's a better team here. We've got the better quarterback. And this is a home game for them. They got beat last time out, which on the road at Utah, which is another team that's pretty good. Oregon team plays a lot better at home than they do on the road. Go on ahead and give me Oregon. Give me the Ducks. Quack, quack, baby. Let's cover that 4-point spread. These last 3. Rice on the road at LSU. LSU is 42.5-point favorite against Rice. Not known for scoring a whole heck of a lot of points. But Rice is just one of the absolute worst teams in the Power 5. They probably are the worst. Their lone win came in what we call Week 0. And that came against Prairie View A&M, a SWAC team. That's FCS in overtime. The rest of their losses have been mini and bad. They've lost to you. They let UTEP snap like a 25-game losing streak. They've lost to everybody in Conference USA by 1 million points. They played one game against Houston, which was mildly competitive, somewhere toward the beginning of the season. But other than that, they've just been stomped on week after week after week. 42.5 points. LSU's offense, not that good. Give me Rice Pudding to cover the spread here. I really do. I think this will be like 42-7. Liberty on the road at Auburn. Liberty played decent last week against Virginia, especially in the first half. They covered the spread in that game. I don't think that Auburn is any better than Virginia. In fact, I would definitely say Virginia is a better team than them. Liberty stepped up their game and moved up to FBS, from FCS. They're taking on all comers this year. They can put some points on the board. Auburn kind of struggles to put points on the board. Give me the Flames here. Give me the Flames to cover in Jordan-Hare on that 28.5 point spread. And finally, last but not least, Texas Tech on the road at Kansas State. They're laying 6.5 on the highway. Kansas State, another team which has played well at home at times this year, but this has just been an awful season for them. Really disappointing. Texas Tech, I think, has looked a lot better at times than what a lot of people thought they would going in. But Kansas State, another team, are they gonna make a decision at the end of the year on Bill Snyder, or will he still be around for a 44th year in 2019? I mean, who knows? The Red Raiders are 5-5. Actually, is what their record is right now. I thought they were a little bit better than that. They're only 5-5. Their best win was the Oklahoma State, I guess you would have to say. They won 41-17 there. They've lost 3 games in a row. Texas, Oklahoma, and Iowa State. None of them by a whole lot. There's the middle of the day at Kansas State. Going ahead and give me Texas Tech here to cover in this one. I think Kansas State. Now, Kansas State barely beat Kansas last week at home. They ain't even covered the spread against them. I don't think they're covering the spread against these guys. Going ahead, give me the Red Raiders here. Probably win by a couple of touchdowns. All right, guys, that's my picks and predictions for week number 12. I hope you enjoyed each and every one of those. And feel free to join back later on, see how I did on Sunday. Always here for you. Next week will be rivalry week. We'll have a lot of games on here that'll be interesting. Next week's video may be a little bit longer, and we may cut the number of games that do predictions on down a little bit so we can fit all that in there, because we'll definitely have a little bit more to talk about on some of those games than what we did on some of these this week. So, all right, guys, I hope you have some good luck this week in your endeavors and in your picking of games. Go Gamecocks. As always, I will see you all at the ball games. Carolina Jackpot, I'm out of here. Go Cox.